Hey, folks, it is Sunday, December 17th, 2023. Thank you for joining us. And of course, we are on YouTube and Facebook and a bunch of other channels right now. Hopefully, you're watching us somewhere. In fact, send me a comment. Let me know where you're watching this from. I am also live and on TikTok as well. So, of course, if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, jump over to TikTok and follow us there. If you're on TikTok, hello everybody, because I'm doing this live, kind of a behind the scenes bonus live for my TikTok followers. If you want to see what's going on behind the scenes, jump over to TikTok and you'll see DPF guys live. So if you're not a subscriber to our channels, definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've been coming up some pretty cool stuff over the next few weeks, and I don't want you to miss it. I'll be talking about this a few times. We'll be picking a winner because every week we give away a DPF Guys hat to one lucky winner out there. So if you would like to win a hat, just type the word hat in the comments down below or on the side or wherever they might be, and or text the word hat to the phone number 404 999 1361 404 999 1361, and I will show that to you as well. Call or text us anytime. And of course, if you want to possibly get a hat, in fact, I'm going to do something up here on my TikTok. I'm going to do, my video is mirrored, but it shouldn't be. There we go. All right. If you'd like to get entered into the contest to win a hat, we're giving away one a week, and we give one at the show. Text hat to 404 999 1361. Okay. So we are DPF guys. We are based in Atlanta, Georgia, and soon to be other places. We focus 100% on diesel after treatment services for anything with a diesel engine and an emission system. So most of our customers are truck drivers and fleets, but we also service after treatment for off-road equipment, diesel passenger vehicles, and even stuff that stands still, stationary equipment with DPF systems. That's going to be generators, rock crushers, pumps, and more. So, as we always say, if it has a DPF, we can clean it. Disclaimer, you should always talk to your mechanic about any concerns you have with your engine or truck. And when it comes to pricing, anything we discuss here may or may not apply to you and should not only be used as a guideline and is not any form of official quote for anybody that services your truck, DPF guys, any mechanic, that sort of stuff. Because it's really common. Someone say, "Oh, how much is it?" And I'll tell them, and they'll say, "Wait a second, it was more." Well, I didn't, you didn't tell me what truck you had or whether generally speaking, the price is fairly simple. But it will vary slightly based upon what sort of truck you have, what your situation is. So anything you hear pricing wise, double check with us, get a quote. Because I don't want you to be disappointed that we charge you too much or too little. So last but not least, we pick one lucky winner every week to win a DPF Guys hat, just like the one I'm wearing here. Just text the word hat, and that's spelled H-A-T, for those of you who might be wondering, to 404 999 1361. 404 999 1361. Text the word hat. Or anywhere you're watching this video, just comment hat on the side down below in the comments, and we will collect all of these hat submissions. And then on the next show next week, we will pick somebody at random, and you will win a hat. So let's see who's the winner from last week's DPF Guys hat giveaway. Hold on a second here. All right. Let's shake it up. What do we got? Hey, cool. We got one somebody here. So this one came in via text. I don't know the person's name. I just had their phone number. I'm not going to share their phone number with you. So I will let you know whoever this is. It's a secret. I will notify you tonight that you are the lucky winner, and we'll get that hat out to you via UPS tomorrow. So you will have a hat in a couple of weeks. Congratulations, whoever you are. You'll find out very soon. And if you watching out there in YouTube land, wherever you happen to be, TikTok world, want to win a hat as well, make sure you comment hat or text hat to 404-999-1361. Anyway, onward. Of course, if you need to get a hold of us for any reason, text or call us 404-999-1361. And hold on a minute here. I've got to quick pull this. I didn't cue this video up. Hold on for a minute, please. I got to look up a video that I got asked a question about. Let's see. Hold on. Oh man. Okay, so I'm gonna. I don't want to have dead air here as I look for this. Where the heck was it? I do want you to see this, so please bear with me. And this is live, so I can't hit the pause button on this, and I apologize for that, but I'm gonna look at this quick. I've got a video here. Okay, bear with me a second. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm looking up this video as tagged in, and I'm gonna share it with you. Cool, I found it. All right. Okay, so I was tagged in this video. I'm gonna play it for you quick. Here we go. And it was by a user like a slice. And I'm gonna play the video, and then we're gonna talk about it for a second. Here we go.
Fuck around, I fuck around. Yeah, fuck around, round, round, I fuck around. I fuck around, round, round.
Okay. So you watch the video. Basically, it's a video of a guy drilling out his DPF with a big spade bit, and obviously that is so that you can delete it or plant flowers in it. But let's assume he's going to be deleting it. So what we have in this video is what the EPA, the federal government, the FBI, et cetera, would call evidence. So if this user who posted this video has a shop and they drill out DPFs on a regular basis, it's not a matter of if they will get caught, but a matter of when. In fact, from what I understand, the EPA already has a list of 500 shops approximately, slightly under, I think it's like 475 right now, that they will be visiting over the first quarter of 2024. And the guy who posted this video might be on the list. So let's hope not, because if they do visit him, he'll be facing a fine of at least $5,000 for every single DPF that he's drilled out. And every customer who has gotten a delete will get a fine up to $7,500 for their first offense. And the EPA will go through all of the shop's receipts meticulously and find every receipt that says miscellaneous exhaust work paid in cash and use those to find the owners of the trucks with the deletes. Plus, as an added bonus, the shop doing the miscellaneous exhaust work for cash will also be introduced to a friendly IRS agent who will be more than happy to make sure that taxes have been paid on all of that cash work. In fact, what's funny is sometimes the EPA will just say, we're not going to even bother prosecuting you. We'll just hand you over to the IRS and you get a tax evasion charge, which is actually more serious than the delete charge. But the delete stuff is nothing to joke about either. So if you'd ask me, if you should delete, the answer that I will tell you is no on all occasions and for many reasons. The last of which is how much trouble you can get in if you get caught. So if you're having DPF issues, the answer is not a delete. It's not. More than 90% of the time, the issue that's causing the problems with your trucks after treatment are up in the engine. The injectors, compression, Jake brakes being stuck open or closed, or one of the two, or you have an issue with turbo actuator, whatever it might be. So you're basically bringing it in saying, I've got my DPF is plugged up and the answer is not a delete. It's trying to figure out what caused it to get plugged up in the first place. So drilling out the DPF is not only the cause for more potential issues, you aren't fixing the root cause of the problem. And what I can tell you is if you go to a mechanic and their first and only suggestion is delete that shit, just find a different mechanic because that is not the answer. If you are a mechanic who does delete, set aside some of that cash you're getting for legal fees for when you get caught. Not if you get caught, for when you get caught, because you're going to need a good attorney. And it's a criminal defense, so it's not, you'll need a good criminal attorney and somebody who handles federal cases. And so definitely have money set aside to cover your attorney's fees. Also, just a little tip, if you are a mechanic who does deletes, I recommend not posting videos of you doing them on the internet unless you enjoy making the federal government's job easier. So if you want to get a hold of us before you do a delete, and again, if you do a delete, that's between you and Mother Nature, I guess, right? But you can face your own consequences. Call or text us 404-999-1361. And I will probably politely try to talk you out of it. But, you know, just don't take doing a delete lightly. All right, number 2. This is a good question, Ashley. And the question is, what pressure should a DPF pump on a Freightliner Cascadia put out? And the answer to that is about 145 psi at around 2,500 RPM pump speed, and that is the answer. But if you're having issues with, with DEF issues, I want you to check a couple of things first. One is, of course, make sure your pump is running properly and everything else. But you also want to pull a small sample of DEF out of the tank and check it with your refractometer to make sure the DEF is good. Also, it's not a bad idea to have DEF contamination strips where you can test to see if your DEF is contaminated. If you don't have a refractometer, you can get them on Amazon, and I'll leave a link over here down below, whatever it is, where you can get, for them on Amazon. They're about $30 for the manual version, which is what I have right now, and about $125 for the electronic version, which I am getting next week because I thought it was kind of cool. But I would say the $30, $25, whatever they might be, the refractometer, they're small. They come in a nice plastic case. I would keep one of those in your truck because before you start letting a mechanic spend many, many hours diagnosing things, you want to take some of the easy stuff and get it done before you bring your truck in. Having this refractometer to test your DEF is definitely a good and easy thing to do. So once you've tested your DEF, you want to remove the DEF dozer next, or the metering valve, whatever they call it these days, and make sure that the nozzle isn't plugged up with a bunch of crystallized crap, which it sometimes is. And then do a DEF volume test using your diesel laptops or whatever your diagnostic software is, and make sure that the DEF pump is delivering the proper number of milliliters per minute, or however they measure it. Because obviously, if it's under delivering DEF, then that would cause an issue. If everything looks good, and your NOx sensor is okay, you may have a bad one box. Again, this is on a Freightliner. Other trucks wouldn't have a one box, but on a Freightliner with a Detroit engine, you do have a one box. You may have a bad one box, and in your Freightliner, we can help with that as well with a brand new one box. Now, unfortunately, the SCRs, which are the parts that go bad and affect the DEF quality and the DEF, the NOx emissions, those are actually part of the one box and they can't be replaced separately. And just I've talked about this a number of times, but the deal is the exhaust flows through 3 main components in your after treatment system. The DOC is first, the dock. After that is the DPF. That's the filter that catches all the crap. And then the clean exhaust, which would still have chemicals in it that have to be taken out, which is NOx, nitrogen oxides, works its way down through the SCR. Now, what happens with the SCRs is it's really temperature that kills them. The DOC and DPF can really get hotter than anything else in there. They can, if they get up to 1,400 degrees, it may be an over temp, but it really wouldn't damage them. Normally it can, but normally wouldn't. But that SCR will absolutely fail if it gets much above 1200 degrees Fahrenheit, 1200, 1250. And that's because the precious metals or the metals, the catalytic metals that are in the DOC and sometimes the DPF are platinum, palladium, rhodium, and those are all very expensive precious metals, which doesn't have anything to do with it, but they also have a very high melting temperature, which is, a couple thousand degrees or even higher. The metal that is in the SCR, which is called vanadium, which I personally think sounds like some sort of chemical or special metal you'd hear in a Marvel movie. Oh no, Loki's got the vanadium, but has a melting temperature. It vaporizes at 1200 degrees Fahrenheit. So if the SCR ever gets above 1200, you're pretty much guaranteed that the SCRs are bad and the one box needs to get replaced. So if you do get a new one box from us, they are aftermarket, but they work really well. 3-year warranty, unlimited mileage on that warranty. Now, any warranty that we offer on this sort of equipment um, covers it, but it doesn't cover things that are unrelated to the one box itself. And that means that if you drive over a train track and smack it against the ground, doesn't cover that. You get T-boned at an intersection, your one box gets smashed, doesn't cover that, obviously. Also, if you have an issue in your engine where you lose a turbo and fill up your one box with oil, not covered. Or you have something and the engine's burning in such a way that it produces a whole bunch of heat down in the that it shouldn't be producing, that wouldn't be covered anymore. But it's covered against any sort of failure, just so you know what's covered and what doesn't. Give us a call or a text, 404-999-1361, and we can talk more about your one box if you have any questions, and then we can determine whether or not you should consider getting a new one. If you get one from us, we sell them fully loaded, meaning they've got the filters in them. And all you have to do is equip them with sensors that you can then either buy new or just move from your old one box to your new one box. Also, as just a quick note, I do recommend that anytime you're doing some sort of kind of major surgery like this, that you put on a fresh harness on your one box, because the electrical harnesses on these after treatment systems are just kind of wrapped, like an octopus around your one box or similar system. And they're running at high temperatures and everything like that. And so they do get a little crispy, a little brittle over time. And so when you pull a harness off of one box to put it on another one, oftentimes it will break insulation or cause shorts. And sometimes the harness is just fine, but if you want to eliminate that as a worry, replace your harness. All right, on to question number 3. Is there a way for me to get the ash out of my system at home? Now, as you know, we are DPF guys. We clean filters, and that's what I do for a living. That's how we make our money. So I suppose it would make sense for me to simply say you can't do that at home, but that's not entirely true. Um, you can't do it at home as well as we would do it, as well as it needs to get done. But with a little care, you can get your truck running again at home, at least well enough to get back on the road and bring the truck to a DPF cleaning facility like DPF guys, or at least get back on the road. Or you may be in the middle of nowhere, right? Middle of Alaska or something like that. And keep in mind that you can also ship your DPF and DOC to us for cleaning with 24-hour turnaround. But if you really want to do it at home, you can. But let me tell you a few things you should not do. Number 1, do not use a power washer. And yes, there's going to be people out there that say, I use a power washer and it's great. I'm going to check something here quick, see if we got any questions. Hey, I got Big Country. Thank you so much. I got a comment on YouTube. A customer, Big Country filters you did for me a couple of weeks ago are still holding up good. And it's APC direct. I'm going to, I love comments like this. Thank you very much. If there's anything else I can do for you, APC, you let me know. Big Country. All right, back to this question. Do not use a power washer. And yes, I know there's going to be people out there that swear by it. I use a power washer all the time and it works great, blah, blah, blah. I have not seen a power washer ever really work. And I've seen many, many DPFs that have been destroyed by power washers. So don't use a power washer. It will normally damage the DPF to the point where it needs to be replaced. A power washer has too much pressure and too little water flow to do a really good job. So I recommend just avoiding that entirely. Two, compressed air works to get 50 or 60% of the soot and ash out of your filter. Now that's going to leave 40, 50% in the filter, but compressed air is usually good enough to get you back in the road. Um, and in fact, most companies that do clean DPFs really just use compressed air. And like I said, it's good enough. It's okay, but it's really not going to make the filter like new. What happens when you don't get our goal is to get everything out, and that's what will give you the longest time between cleanings. And I always tell people that, they'll say, well, how often should I get my DPF cleaned? And it's a very simple conversation at that point, which is, say, well, how many miles were on your truck before you came to see me? And they'll say, oh, 500,000, something like that. I'm like, well, you're probably about 200,000 beyond the manufacturer's recommended, interval on that. But if you went 500,000 miles and the truck ran just fine, and you're going to be driving it the same way, we will get the DPF cleaned like new. So you should, knock on IKEA wood here, you should be able to go the same amount of time. Now, if you just use compressed air, it's going to leave a bit in the filter. It'll be good enough to get you back on the road. But because there's still crap left in your filter, two things happen. One is it won't last as long before you need to get it cleaned again. And the other thing is anything you leave in the filter, a little bit of soot, a little bit of ash, um, is trapped in that tiny honeycomb down at the bottom. And over time, with heat cool cycles, that'll eventually sinter. And basically, it's almost like it becomes like a ceramic or a concrete in there, and it doesn't want to come out at all. And the only way you can solve that, once you get all that stuff stuck in there and you can't get it out, even we can't get it out, then you need to buy a new DPF, and we want to avoid that. If you do use compressed air, wear protective gear, which will include goggles and a face mask, rated down to sub-micron particle size. Three, have a computer you can hook up to reset soot and ash levels on the truck. If you don't have the computer to do the reset, most trucks will not realize that the DPF has actually been cleaned or even replaced until you can do the necessary reset. This is not true for all trucks, but it is true for most, or at least many. So if you don't want to deal with this in your backyard, and you can make it to Atlanta, or you can ship us your DPFs and DOCs, text or call us. Say it with me, 404-999-1361. And of course, if you want to win a hat, text the word hat to 404-999-1361. All right. So I had another one, and the person commented, the manufacturer doesn't want us to use never sees because it will affect the burn. Can only imagine what the drill oil will do. Now, this was a comment on a video where I showed one of my guys, Brian, who's just a overall rock star. Brian, if you're watching this, you're awesome. But he was occasionally a sensor will get stuck, and we don't try to break them off. But sometimes the torque needed to break them loose will actually shear them off, and then they have to be drilled out and retapped. Now we can also cut the bung off, the sensor bung, the sensor port. Just cut that off, drill it out, and retap a bung, re-weld a bung on there. But ideally, we'll try to drill and tap first, and then we will weld a bung on if need be. So I had a video of Brian drilling and tapping, and he was using, as he should, he was using tapping oil and some tapping wax as well. And that caught somebody's attention and said, hey, I was trained not to use this on anything in the after treatment because it will affect the burn. So we do use copper anti-seize on all of our threads to kind of pay it forward to ourselves at some point, because hopefully we see that customer again in a couple of years, or the next mechanic that needs to work on it. Because man, there's nothing I hate more than having to struggle with sticky nuts. Um, and But we put copper anti-seize on all of our threads, and I've never had an issue with it. And yes, there is some grease in the anti-seize, but it's a tiny, tiny amount, and it quickly, melts away, burns away once the truck reaches running temperatures and leaves the nanoparticles of copper behind in the threads, which prevents seizing and binding over time. When we re-drill and retap a sensor bung, we do use drilling and tapping oil, but is entirely on the outside of the DPF, and we do clean up after. If there is a small amount of drilling tapping oil left over, it also burns off quickly and safely when the truck is running. We have never seen any issues with anti-seize or the drilling and tapping oils with any of our DPF systems we worked on, so I don't see this as an issue. We just try to be neat about, how we use the oil and the anti-seize, so we don't make a mess, and make sure that if you do use anti-seize or any sort of oil on this stuff, keep it out of any of the sensing parts of the sensor. It's just not so much of a big deal on the probe for a temperature sensor, but if you have inlet and outlet NOx sensors or the PM, the particulate matter sensor, um, on the outlet, those all have tiny holes in them to actually kind of sniff the air, sniff the exhaust, and if you goop those up with anti-seize, you could hurt the sensor, prevent it from working properly. Also, this is kind of a big deal to remember. Um, you may not realize this, but when you're dealing with um, the the more intelligent sensors, the NOx sensors, the soot sensors, that sort of stuff, they uh, are fairly dainty when it comes to impact. I mean, you can really bang on a temperature sensor; there's not much to break in there, right? But on a soot sensor or NOx sensor, there's all sorts of little ceramic pieces inside that if you drop it, can crack that and can destroy the sensor before you wouldn't even know it. So, if you are if you're dealing with NOx sensors or soot sensors, taking them out, or putting new ones in, just be very careful with them. Don't drop them. Don't bang them on stuff because you can and probably will damage them, or at least damage them where they might not fail right away, but they might fail down the road, and that's no fun either. So anyway, you want to talk about NOx sensors and anti-seize and slippery bungs and sticky nuts and what have you? Give us a call or a text 404-999-1361. Did I mention you can win a hat? I think I did. All right, let's go on to question number 5 that I forgot to type in. And the question was, let's see, number 4. So question number 5. Can you educate me on a 2012 one box versus the 2015 one box? So, somebody out there with much more Freightliner knowledge, or Detroit knowledge, or Daimler Mercedes knowledge might have um, some more in-depth commentary on this. But based upon what I see, the 2012 will likely be under the EPA 10 standards. The 2015 will be under the EPA 14 standards. And from what I can tell, there's not much visible or functional difference between the two. Um, and so, outside looking in, they're going to be the same. There's probably some, difference in the standards as far as the filtration or what precious metals are in the DOC. But from just looking at it, they're going to be very much the same. So I will tell you, again, from my point of view, the biggest difference is that the 2015 one box had a huge problem with failed SCRs due to an ECM programming snafu, where the fuel mapping was causing the Detroit engine to overfuel the cylinders, which caused the one box to overheat and the SCRs to be damaged to the point where they either don't work at all or where they only work somewhat, giving frustrating, confusing, and misleading codes that'll make you want to pull your hair out. This problem, what I've seen, is also impacted late model 2014 and early 2016. So if somebody calls me and says, I've got a 2015 Freightliner and I need to get the one box cleaned, I ask them a few questions. And so often I have to say, look, I've got bad news. I don't think cleaning will fix this thing. Um, so, in what's kind of bizarre is lately over the last 2 weeks, I've seen similar issues popping up on 2017s, and so I'm not sure if the 2017 issues, tie back to fuel mapping or not, but I have seen more 2017s with failure. So, the biggest difference is that the 2015 model years, late 2014, early 2016, were on trucks with a fuel mapping issue that caused almost 100% failure rate of the one boxes on trucks for that generation. The 2012 did not have those failure issues, but since a 2012 one box is more than 10 years old, You may also be just simply having issues caused by time and miles. Um, the biggest thing that I want you to be aware of when it comes to this type of failure, and the idea is I don't want to, steal food out of mechanics miles. I don't want them to make any less money. But um, if you just bring your truck in, they're going to go through the troubleshooting tree, and and you'll spend a lot of time, replacing knock sensors, doing all this stuff, and it turns out it's just a bad one box. So what you want to look for, the symptom that you're looking for, if you've got a 2015-ish, again, that's going to be 14, 15, 16, or now I've seen some 17s. And again, like all the things I talk about, it's not a slam dunk guaranteed 100% of the time. This is what's causing it. But if you get this symptom, and the symptom is, invite this guy to join me. The symptom is that your truck runs like a champ, right? If it is bobtail, starts great, runs great, no codes, no lights, no nothing. Or if you have an empty trailer on the back and you're driving on a fairly flat road, truck is happy, you're happy, everything's good. You're listening to the radio, you're humming along, everything is dandy. But all of a sudden you put 40,000 pounds in the back and you start to head up a slight grade where your truck is working a little hard, and all of a sudden your lights come on and you get a code that says DEF quality, or you get SCR efficiency or NOx conversion. Um, so you bring that truck in, they're going to be replacing NOx sensors, going to be draining your DEF and all that type of stuff. But it can, if you're 2015-ish, 14, 15, 16, and your truck runs great, unless it's under, it's under load going up a grade. If it starts to fail at being under load going up a grade and you have to pull over and regen it, then it works pretty well. You've got a bad one box. I would almost bet money on it every single time. So keep that in mind. Watch your symptoms. If you have any questions, you know what you need to do. 404-999-1361. Let us talk to you, help you diagnose some stuff. And then speaking of diagnostics, have you heard of a company called OTR Performance? I have not done my unboxing video on this yet, but along with your DEF refractometer, I do recommend that every truck driver have some sort of easy to use and effective diagnostics tool in the truck. One of them that I've had very good luck with, I've enjoyed working with this company, is OTR Performance. And I'll be getting more in depth with them. Now, it's not necessarily cheap. It's like $600 for one of these tools. It uses your phone, it has an app on the phone. That includes the hardware that you plug into your port. It might be it's $800. I think they're running a special for $600, but normally it's $800, but $600 includes they don't charge you for the hardware. So I do recommend having that diagnostics tool in the truck. It allows you to read your codes, reset your codes, and also run a regen on the truck. Remember, a regen is not magic. All it's doing is burning some of the soot into ash, and there comes a point where the regen doesn't work. So doing a forced regen in your truck is something that should only be done in the case of an emergency or a periodically. But the answer is not just pulling over and doing a forced regen every half hour. I mean, if you need to do that to get home or to get to the shop, go ahead. But a regen is not a magic solution. It is curing a symptom and not the root cause. All right. So remember, those were my answers, and I'm going to be jumping over to TikTok and really focusing on my friends on TikTok who are here live. I've got 43 people standing by. Hey, everybody on TikTok, I'm going to be done here on YouTube in just a minute. And anybody watching me on YouTube or Facebook, jump over to TikTok and look up DPF Guys. We're going to be doing a live, answering some questions. I've got 99 new messages to look at on TikTok. And as always, if you want to win a hat, text the word hat to 404-999-1361, or just comment hat anywhere you're seeing this video. I'm going to check to see if we get any more comments. And I look forward to picking a winner next week. So there you have it. Your questions, my answers. Thank you everybody for watching. Please leave your questions and comments below, or text your questions directly to us at 404-999-1361. I'll be back here next week to answer more of your questions. And remember to subscribe to DPF Guys YouTube channel, like our Facebook page, and of course, find us on TikTok. And, or if you're the corporate type, look me up, James Wendt or DPF Guys on LinkedIn and send me a connection request. Thanks for watching and see you next week. And TikTok folks, I'm going to be grabbing you off the stand and spinning you onto my desk in just a minute. Once I hit the button here.